Gefilte fish.
So welcome everybody to the very first podcast of Gray Flannel Suits. So what this is a business podcast that talks basically about sales, business. We're going to interview business leaders and entrepreneurs, basically to learn. We're going to try to learn everything we can. So this is the very first episode. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you can get future podcasts and updates. So in the studio tonight, we've got Strata Blue, the boys from Strata Blue. I know you guys do some sort of digital marketing, right? So in just a brief thing, tell us, what does Strata Blue do?
In short, we basically help businesses achieve, like Ben mentioned, the next phase of whatever journey they're going through. So a lot of customers or partners will come to us and say, hey, we're at 50 million. We want to understand what takes, for us to get to 80 million, or even a smaller business, 5 million to 15 million as an example. And maybe they don't have the internal team and they're looking for the expertise outside to grow into that next phase.
Cool. Ben, you got anything on that?
No, I think Slava hit that on the nose.
Okay. Well, how did you guys meet?
So mutual friend from a past work life of mine. And to be honest, Slav and I have been buddies for about 10 years prior to us actually having a conversation about what each other actually did. And then it was, oh, you're in the marketing space. Oh, so are you. Great. We should probably talk more. Sometimes that's just how things are. And that's a good thing about great friendships. But then you get into some deeper conversations and things start to click, and there you go.
Nice. So Slava, what about you? I mean, what sets you guys what sets you apart? Because I know there's a lot of competition out there. So
yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, what sets us apart is the talent and the passion in our team, right? And the results that we're able to back up. Really, it's putting our money where our mouth is and executing on the strategies that we come up with.
Okay. How'd you get started in the industry?
So I got started when I was in college. I was working for a corporate company that, was developing products, trying to understand how to sell them online, and basically built a online marketplace. This was in 99. So it was the time Amazon and PayPal were early in their inception, if you will. We understood that if you got enough people to talk about the product or service that you wanted, you would then have a greater opportunity. So we built a forum that, got like 40,000 members to join and talk about the product. And it was kind of unheard of at that time. Everyone was really trying to understand what Web 1.0 really was. And so at the end of the day, we made a large sum of money. I pretty much was at the peak of my career at that particular point, and moved on to my own business.
I mean, I was around when the internet first entered, right? And I remember, back then, it was all basic and nobody had a website. It was all bulletin boards.
AOL dial-up.
It was, yeah. And
BBSs.
It was. And I remember my dad, he had me, come look at his new computer, and it was like a 54 baud. He's like, man, this thing screams, right? So since that's happened to where we are now, things have changed greatly. And I know that there was a big rush in 1999, 2000, with everybody wanting a website. And that was back before WordPress and some of these other platforms that you could get on.
Yep.
But since that's happened, it's changed so fast. And I think when websites first came out, everybody's trying to grasp it. This is a great thing, but how do we drive traffic? And I don't think that the driving of traffic thing really existed back then, did it? And then it evolved. So
Well, I mean, websites. I mean, think about the first TV shows. What were they? They were just somebody filming somebody on stage acting. Because before that, it was acting on stage. You had to go to the theater to see somebody. Um, the first websites, kind of an analogy there, the same way, in that the first websites, people used them as a flyer for their company, a little bit of information. Um, you know, the technology wasn't there that is here today to really start branching out from that website, but that's what it was. It was just a digital version of a flyer. It has evolved immensely since then, and that's what we're here to explain and preach and help businesses understand how to make that tool more useful than a flyer.
Yeah, I would say that it's changing so fast that it's hard to keep up with, right? And that's,
Yeah.
I think, why they need somebody like you, because you're on the forefront of it, you're studying it, you're able to be like, hey, we need to pivot. So what do you think are some of the things that are coming up with digital marketing in the future? Like, what should they be looking to?
I think there's a couple of things that are going to come up more on data privacy and personal privacy, and how your data is really being used. That's being talked a lot about in the public sector. Also about how AI, or how can that data be used to then help predict or help you understand, what moves you should be making on whatever platform, or what pieces of content, or what the future might look like. And then data governance, really, it all goes back to data at the end. But that's for me, right? A lot of people will tell you it's about personalization. A lot will say it's about virtual or video. There's a lot of different darts that I think that you could throw out. It's also what you're passionate about too, because you'll go down a rabbit hole real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, today you have the opportunity to paint the face that you want for your image, your brand. That's the website, that's your Instagrams, that's your Facebook. You can build that image of yourself, your company, however you want to see yourself and position yourself in that digital space and world. The behind the scenes fact are there's a lot of data being collected there, habits, likes, all kinds of things that are transferring and then being measured up with your credit card expenditures, big, big, big papa, big brother
I think the question that
type of stuff.
every business owner is trying to figure out, from enterprise to the small business, is if I put $1 into the machine, right, what does that output look like, and how can I tie it back to whatever touch point was on that dollar, if you will?
Yeah.
How can I understand my marketing spend, or awareness, or engagement, or whatever marketing term you want to use?
And that ties back to all the data that's being collected.
Remember back when they had Second Life? I don't even know if they still have that anymore, but it was about as virtual reality as you could get, right?
Yeah.
And there were people back then trying to figure out how to market on Second Space. Like I don't know if you remember, but I think some of the big stores, like the electronic stores, Best Buy, and
Toys R Us back in the day.
Toys R Us, Circuit City. I remember Circuit City.
Right.
So they were having like virtual stores and trying to capitalize on it back then. Mm-hmm. But I think it was a little too early. The technology wasn't quite there. Yeah. What do you guys think, like virtual reality, how's it going to play? Because I know Zuckerberg is like, hey, I'm putting everything in. How do you guys think that's going to play out in your world?
So I want to set the landscape of virtual reality first. Today, where it's at is still in its infancy. The virtual reality that we're experiencing is putting a unit over your eyes and starting to engage yourself in this immersive space. But the future of that technology is to start to minimize that. And what I mean by that is it's going to go then into your glasses. Then it could be a contact lens, or could get further than that. That's the reality of virtual reality. But immersive experiences, it's just whether or not that's right for your business. Is there an actual useful application outside of just doing it to do it?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? And I can see why right now virtual reality is being used for gamers because nobody's going to try to walk around with those giant things in their head. And in fact, that's probably the one reason I haven't actually got one myself because I'm not a gamer and I'm not just going to sit around and look at virtual reality of Hawaii or something in this giant thing unless it becomes a little bit more convenient. So, how does that play with advertisers, Ben?
Well, really quick as well, you guys are car guys. From a virtual reality standpoint, a lot of this stuff is gaming, but let's put our engineer hat on and get immersive in an engine and being able to spread that engine out. I mean, if you've seen Iron Man and Tony Stark, how he can spread that out, understand the different parts, put them in, have the computer tell him what that is going to do to enhance that engine. So again, different applications. From an advertising standpoint, I think Slava's got a lot of insight on that piece.
Well, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big brand, you obviously have the dollars to own a space or to test into that space. So, when we're talking about Coca-Cola or any consumer brand, CPG, whatever, they have the money to try it, own it, be the first in it. Early tech adopters are a certain subset of the demographic that they're going after, and they'll definitely win the space. If you're a small business and you don't have a lot of dollars to play with, I wouldn't recommend it at the moment.
You guys have been around for quite a while. How did the pandemic affect you? Because, there's articles out there that saying that actually the pandemic was a good thing for virtual and B2B digital marketing.
So, what I'll say is, we're very fortunate that we're somewhat insulated in, what our careers are, and what I'm most proud of is not letting go of any employees, keeping all of them employed. In fact, bringing on more employees. Did the pandemic help accelerate what digital and the virtual? Yes, I think so, and it definitely changed the landscape for a lot of companies and a lot of ways about how people interact with brands and other companies and interact with themselves.
Mm-hmm. So, Ben, what do you think?
I mean, first and foremost, if you had difficult times during that in your business model, prayers to you, and just remember how you started it. Just put your head down, keep fighting. For us as a digital, obviously, people started looking to that digital space to be able to push their message and have those conversations that they were missing that you couldn't get any longer because we weren't allowed to be around each other.
So with everything changing the way it is, like I've been seeing a lot of things for AI and all this other stuff. I mean, how do you stay relevant, right? Are we going to eventually be taken over by just AI curation and they can write a whole lengthy article and that's what's being sent out? Because I mean, I'm reading that the Washington Post has been using AI to write material and content and push it out. I'm sure there's limits, but I mean, are we all going to be replaced some point in time from AI or?
The way I'll answer is we do use a tool that actually does write different variations of content based on different personas and different objectives. So we actually have a tool that does that for our clients, and we do multi-variant testing based on different messages to see what resonates and, gets us the end result that we're looking for. Do I see it as a future? Absolutely. But at some point, whatever phase we're in, humans ultimately have to train that tool or set parameters or guidelines. And at some point, then you hope true AI is learning and making decisions based on itself and, things it's learned. How far out are we where, I don't know any of the insight, but I do believe it's the future. It's natural progression. Some people might like it, some don't, but it's the path that I think a lot of industries.
Okay, but even it's decent right now.
Yep.
It's not perfect. It can't write a lengthy, curated thing. It's probably short things, but it's got like built-in SEO and all that stuff. but you still have the human element that you have to.
Yeah, writing is interesting. So, writing is sometimes a personal opinion and choice, and you're never going to please everyone, and not everyone's going to like the same piece of written content or have it resonate with them or get the same understanding. You can have three different people read the exact same piece and maybe take it three different ways. So, I think there's always, when it comes to content like written, is going to have a need for some human interaction. Granted, I'm sure there's plenty of companies that would disagree and say, it can be 100%, things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're somewhere between the Pong and the Atari of AI right now. I mean, that's just put it into perspective and understand where we're at with a Call of Duty or PS5 today.
But it also, like we have to look at what our businesses that we're serving are able to handle too. I'm sure the billion and Fortune 10 companies are on a different path.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the scope is changing fast, right? Yeah. And video. I mean, it used to be, hey, how do you write the article? And it's got to be worded just right with SEO. But now we're talking about video, and it seems like it's not going anywhere. I read an article recently that YouTube has actually got more traffic now than Facebook itself. Where's it going? Is that the future, or where do you see that?
I mean, I have two daughters, 10 and 8. And if I don't have them out in athletics or doing something extracurricular, they want to be on YouTube or Roblox, one of those two platforms. But from a content perspective, YouTube is absolutely dominating the market. The video world is how people want, and they want to communicate. They want to watch versus read through, a white paper or have somebody explain to. They want to see it. And look, there is a happy median in between those two, but video is dominating right now. And it is a way to demonstrate in the business world how your commitment is, how it's different from some of your competition, because of the
that's
detail.
That's actually a segue, because that's one of the questions we're asking you, Dan, as you're helping us, is how can video within a sales process help, close that gap even more, right? So how can we utilize micro content to help a decision maker make a better informed decision and hopefully quicker?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking me a good question. So, I mean, everybody likes to see actually somebody, right? That's probably why a lot of people are watching this podcast right now, because it's not just enough to hear it. It's enough, like, you want to see interaction, human interaction. And I think especially in today's world that we were so secluded for a while, kind of miss that, right? We're social creatures. So, I mean, video, that can be used very easily with introducing yourself in the company through maybe a drip campaign. Maybe that first email is a video of you or you saying, hey, this is us. This is what we do, right? We want to talk to you. And it's that human element, I think. So, I mean, that's how I would use it. That's how we've used it in the past of things that we've done in drip campaigns. Yeah, I mean, I think video is good. I just think that as far as the marketing goes, is it the future?
Not a silver bullet per se, if you will. And you got to do all these things, omni-channel, immersive, experience. So yeah, video is a huge portion of what the future is going to be.
Well, we were having a conversation with a group today and talking about multi-touch attribution. Multiple touch points. The consumer cycle and buying path and path to purchase. The journey is no longer linear. It's not just meant for a newspaper or a couple meetings. I mean, there's multiple different touch points and ways that you can get your brand and your image in front of somebody. It's just, what is that right mix for you? And then once you drive that customer to your front door, how does somebody, take that individual and then walk them down the path to a sale?
Okay. So, I mean, a lot of different touch points. SEO is still a very big player. Pay per click, still a big player.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge.
YouTube videos.
Huge.
What about Facebook?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Facebook's still a thing.
If it's right for you. Yeah.
What would you say is one of the avenues that people are considering that probably ain't really producing like what they should?
I think everyone should reevaluate their email marketing strategy.
Yep.
Email is still one of the largest touch points and communication tools. And I think if you dig a little deeper into the data of your email, you can overcome some things.
Well, and with all of the marketing technology and tools available, your marketing automation platforms, it's twofold too. It's not just generating cold leads and introductions to folks and kind of walking them down a path, but only 3% of the population is probably there and ready to purchase from you when you are introducing your brand and saying, "Hey, buy from me, buy from me." So, what do you do with the other 97% that isn't ready to take that next step? It's how do you keep engaged with them through additional automation tools and plans that just at least keep the brand in front of them in different places.
So, what do you guys think about influencers? Have you ever tried using? Because listen, there's some people that are making six figures off of YouTube, right? Playing cat videos
And more.
and more. So, are influencers really influential when it comes to business?
Yeah, we've definitely tested out some influencers, and I think some can work, and as long as the audience that the influencer has and captures and engages with meets the brand's similar audience, it can absolutely be effective. Some of the difficult part is measurement. Again, working downstream small to medium businesses, unless it's like an e-commerce model, it's difficult sometimes to connect the dots instantly, and they're always looking for that instant gratification. Influencers can also make the user buy down the road, as an example. And so how do you measure, did the influencer really drive that buying decision?
Yeah, how do you measure that?
It's difficult.
Have you guys tried it?
It's one of those branch tactics off of a larger strategy that you have to understand that investment is primarily awareness and just brand image and hoping that you actually get some people to try your product and then continue trying it. Would I rely on it as a main strategy for growth of my business? I wouldn't. Yeah. But that's me. I can't say that it hasn't worked that way for some companies and brands, but that's not where I would invest all of my time and effort in.
Not
out of the gate.
Everything's gonna turn into the Oprah effect, if you will.
Yeah.
So
everybody gets a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You get a car.
Or if you're on our show, your book like goes through the
exactly. You also have to have a good product or service.
Okay.
So
have you tried it? Have you tried influencers for your clients and how did it
all
work?
kinds. Yep.
What kind did you do?
I mean, the influencer space, even as far back as 2013, 2014, and kind of the advent of it, we've used it with entertainment clients, and those type of folks who have a following in a dedicated space to entertainment, and connecting them with the brand and then the internet provider, but all the way up to some recent digital campaigns, whether that was alcohol influence. So client Heineken used some influencers there. It's just a matter of finding the right person that fits the brand, and locally micro influencers. That's other than the big influencer that you look to pay thousands of dollars to put a couple posts up. Also spend some time internally making fans of your brand.
You're talking about employees.
Honestly, employees and just your consumers, your prospects. Build a culture that just makes people enthusiastic to want to be part of your brand, and continue to spread that out through your employees first, because they're the ones that are out there talking to then your consumers, your your prospects, whatever type of business you're in. Make that infectious there.
I think about, like, everybody's got a cell phone in their hand these days, right? Yep. They're walking through businesses all the time. And I know that there is certain things you can do where if you're walking by a business, you're going to get marketed to.
Bing,
right?
bing.
What exactly is that called? And how does that, have you guys ever tried that?
Geolocation. Absolutely. It's definitely a tactic that works. You're looking at either display type ads. So one, you have to have your phone set up to allow some of that technology to work. But ultimately it's showing you an ad, and hopefully the ad resonates based on either what you're walking by or to the brand that's trying to interact with you, and they'll get a reaction out of you, hopefully, and move you down their journey, if you will, or their experience. A lot of it also, I think, larger brands are understanding it's more about the experience than necessarily like the sales offer per se. So how can we get you into an experience with this brand?
From an event angle, so getting right down into the space, there's the geolocation that's pinging off of your phone signal, but most of you probably know or don't know that your Bluetooth is always on.
Even when it's off.
Yes. Even when
that's news to me.
Yeah, could be, but however that is, there are also beacons, depending on areas, what is it? Cisco has a product that tracks traffic, either via internet pings or cell phone pings or Bluetooth, depending on what's on and what's going, so that they can tell you that, hey, there's this amount of traffic that's passing by my storefront on a daily basis. And then they start to get into different analytics there and show you how to potentially use marketing to send them messages and drive them into your store.
So the future really, I'm sure you've heard of like cashierless grocery stores, Amazon as an example.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Everything is basically going to have a tag, RFID or whatever technology they're using. You walk by, you put it, in your shopping cart and you exit and you've already paid for it. Large grocery store chains, Walmart as an example, it's all crunching the data, helping be predictive and understand what your next buying habit's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm still trying to figure out how that works. So I recently went to the old Bankers Life field house, and I experienced that for the first time. Have no idea how it worked. I put my card in, and then I walked in and grabbed whatever I wanted off, and it charged me. I don't know how it knew.
It's interesting the very first time, right?
Yeah, I had no idea how it knew what I picked out, but it worked, and it was awesome because I was at a concert. And it took me like 5 minutes, and I'm in and out and back to the
convenience.
Concert. Yeah,
I mean, we really do live in an Amazon world, if you will, right? Like, I want my 2-day delivery, or I want my product now, and that's actually an uphill battle that we've had to face with some clients because the expectation from the consumer is now dictated by some of those brands, and if it's not being moved downstream, they get upset and they move to a brand that can meet their experience expectation.
What? I have to wait for a product more than a day?
Yeah.
No, I mean, they've got drones delivering them now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yep.
They've even got drones that are doing marketing in the sky now for companies.
Oh, yeah.
It's the swarm. It's unreal where it's going. What do you think was some of your biggest challenges most recently? Like where do you think you're having the most trouble, and what do you think it's going to take to fix it?
From a business standpoint, I think it's always understanding what that next growth cycle looks like, being able to predict it. If you dive deep into it, it's always going to be making sure your culture is fit for all the employees, make sure that the employees are happy. I look inward, right? And I want to understand how can I make our company better from the inside, and go from there.
Okay.
We look to test new theories out, test different software, test different ideas, sometimes purposefully to see if it does work. It's this eat your own dog food mentality, because in our mind, if it doesn't work, I'm not taking that out into the marketplace and and helping or even recommending that to our clients. We want to be that in between some of those failures and learning that so that we can pass that knowledge on to our clients. And, just because we failed at it doesn't mean all of our clients might fail at it or is the worst product, but we at least understand where the pitfalls are. And we try to do that research and diligence so that we can pass on that knowledge to our clients so that they don't have to go through the same pitfalls. We're learning that for them.
Nice. So in a perfect world, you'll say you bring somebody on, they're coming to you like, hey, I got a brand new business. Maybe it's brand new. I want to use you guys for my marketing. How soon before they get results? How does that work? How do you even calculate that?
Another question every business owner wants to know. Right?
Everybody wants results now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back to the Amazon mentality.
2 days.
I mean, in short, what we try and do is internally provide results from true, verifiable, ROI within 60 to 90 days. I mean, I'd love to tell you we can do results at like a light switch, but that's the thing. The internet, if you will, or digital marketing is not a light switch. You cannot just assume you throw up a paid ad or execute on a singular tactic or, that you're going to see that result. So,
and for companies just starting out that don't have any current operation, foundation, maybe they're doing a couple things, I think that 60 to 90 days before we can really start to see something happening is legitimate. Look, some of these bigger companies, mid-tier, 50, 80, 100, 20 million, I mean, you've already got a lot of these pieces in play, but they're not all syncing together. That's going to take, an extra, 4 weeks or so to, first of all, uncover what it is that you are doing, identify where those breakage points are, and then put a strategy and start working that into play. Got to get a foundation that is communicating across the organization together first before you can really do anything else.
So how do you guys know where to invest in money? Because there's all these fascinating things, and I'm an amateur when it comes to this stuff. But you've got pay-per-click, you've got keywords that you're trying to figure out on Facebook. Like, how do you figure out what people are searching for? So for your clients, you can target that.
The easiest way is to have data scientists tell you where the data is. No, I mean, it's a great question because a lot of people will ask us that. And in fact, we got asked that today. Without understanding the data as a foundation, we can't tell anybody where to move next. And there is no singular tactic. We don't live in a linear world, I think has been mentioned. It's every touch point matters. And how do you gauge, multi-touch attribution, first click, last click attribution, things of that nature. So there's not one platform, there's not one budget that fits everybody. Everyone's unique, and let's work backwards to figure it out.
But there are specific points of contact that we look at immediately when we're evaluating. As I mentioned, because we have to peel the onion back or, look behind the curtain to see what it is that you're doing, and start understanding. It all comes back to the communication first and how is it tracking.
So I'm a big Netflix fan.
Yeah.
Right. So I was watching some episode, and it was about all the data that is being collected on us.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
And how many data points each person has on their head.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering.
Crazy.
And it's so right. And this video was saying that they've got it down to a science. They know how long you look at something, even if it's a split second.
Yep.
And I've noticed it getting better and better and better.
That's the AI working.
It's the AI, right? Like, right. I've literally looked at a music video that was about playing a certain song on guitar for like a split second. Mm-hmm. But it took that split second to know that I was interested because I paused. Sure. And then every video after that had something to do with that. Think about this. Sometimes you're having a conversation. You're not even looking directly at a device. You're not searching online. And yet a day later you go into your feed and voila.
You didn't know you wanted those golf shoes.
You didn't know you were kind of talking about them, but they're right there for you. that's real from either listening or actions online. Now, because of AI and because of voice recognition, that is also translating data in and getting back into that marketing machine and putting campaigns, because it knows you by your phone ID address, knows you by where you're searching. And the back end system, the back end thing is you got your Googles and your Facebook. There's not a lot of platforms out there. They all communicate now. So they transfer that type of data, and we can do a lot of things with that. Mostly good, hopefully.
So it's true that our devices are listening to us and gathering this data, and they're farming that data, I'm guessing, to companies that are willing to buy it.
You're allowing it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're allowing
You're
it.
talking
Unless you're
to
setting
Google,
your privacies, you're
Alexa.
allowing it.
Right. But then there's companies, and I'm not saying you guys are
Data
but
brokers.
Yeah,
Yep.
they sell this data,
Yep.
right, so that you know how to better suit clients.
100%.
Right.
And as a marketer, maybe this is a marketer's opinion, maybe not. I don't have a terrible problem with some of it, because, to be honest, I don't see myself as being that important. And the type of stuff I'm talking about, like, great, send me a marketing message. So that'd be kind of cool.
Right.
Obviously privacy concerns, and I get that, because you don't want it there all the time.
Right.
But some of the time, it's like, oh, that's actually kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was recently looking at a speaker, right, and it was on a different computer altogether. Like, totally, it was on a laptop, a company laptop. And the next thing I know, that speaker's on my scroll in Facebook, on my phone.
Sure.
It's like everything's listening.
If you're a good marketer and you're not using the data that's available to you, you're doing yourself and your customers a disservice.
Well, and let's put our business hat on here for a second. From a business side of things, right? You're looking at that data, and what once used to be an advertisement in a newspaper or on a billboard that you would say, great, I got 1 million impressions on that. Great job. What does that mean for my bottom line? I mean, you knew it did something, but you couldn't quantify it. You couldn't pull a direct line to it, because it was just a visualization of it. Now with technology, we can tell you that this click on a Google ad, and this search, and this thing went into my cart, or this phone call was made, and this is the result of that it delivered on that promise, that the marketing, that you put out there into the world actually worked. And that's one of the things that, because of that relationship now, because you can tie that, I mean, that's what we're here to help from a business side. And the business hat is quantifiable marketing and ROI.
So you and I were talking earlier tonight about email addresses.
Yeah.
And how much you can tell from something so simple as an email address. And I think there's a term for that. If you could clue me in, I can't remember, but I was blown away by what you're talking about. Can you expand on that?
Just data in general behind your email address. There is a wealth of data. There are data houses out there, whether that's through credit cards or other transactions that you're making, that are collecting data. The digital platforms out there, the Facebooks of the world, all of that. When you bring that all together, it's typically all rooted in one thing: your email address. That's what you sign in with when you're setting up accounts all across the digital space. So right there's a tie to that individual email address. Now, the fallacy in some of that is you can have email addresses that, my parents have one email address because they used to get mail at one house, right? And that's how they think about it. My kids will see email addresses as a whole different world. Mail is like, oh,
That's old school now.
what the hell is that? Right. That's what old people do. Hey, you know what though? I'm not knocking. There is still value in sending, mail the old school way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I know that drip campaigns are still a very big thing. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's a human thing or, people like getting mail.
Yeah.
They like it unless it's a bill. But if it's something interesting or it's a note that somebody has written, they still like it. So
You can touch it.
You can touch it, and it's really cool when it's actually
Good.
made out to you with actual handwriting, right?
Yeah.
Like, somebody took the time to write. So there's power there, and I don't think that's ever going to totally go away. But it is being replaced with a lot of other things in very fast form, right? Now everybody's
Instant
talking on the phone.
gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification. So,
But I agree with you. Like even for our higher value clients that are looking at prospecting, some of the campaigns are how can we have that true personalized one-to-one touch point with the decision maker? As an example, like in the security space industry, if we send you and you own a couple of dealerships, we send you a catalytic converter and explain, keep more of these on your lot as an example. That is going to get your attention different than someone sending you a digital ad as an example. So yeah.
So you guys, I'm sure, do a full line of services. So just so people that are watching this know what Strata Blue, who's based out of Indianapolis, what exactly do you do? Like if you could do an elevator pitch for the listeners and be like, this is what we do, this is why you want to use this, what would that sound like?
So if you are a small or mid-tier business, you are at a point where you need a growth strategy and you understand that your marketing is one of those opportunities that can help drive more business to your business. That's where Strata Blue comes in. From a digital aspect primarily, we are going to take a look at your business, what you do, the products and services you offer, and what you currently have, evaluate that, and then provide you with a tangible plan, not only digital, but this is how you're going to grow. This is how you need to communicate with your sales team. These are the pieces of technology that you should have and you should be managing and operating. And then we get to work and start implementing that and helping them achieve that goal.
Excellent. Slava?
Couldn't have said it any better.
I know why you got that
Absolutely.
great silky radio.
He
voice.
does.
It's very smooth.
And
Silky
the
smooth.
silver fox. Look at that. Look at the gorgeous hair, right?
Look at those locks, would you?
There you go.
So listen, I appreciate both you guys joining me tonight.
Well, thank you, Dan.
for the very first
thanks, Dan.
episode. I will put your contact information at the end of this video. So if anybody's interested in contacting you, they can do that. Make sure that I gotta switch the camera back. They're looking at you the whole time, the silver fox. They probably were like, yeah, put it back. Your voice, his face. We're good.
We're good.
But make sure you like and subscribe to Gray Flannel Suits or Gray Flannel Foxes, and we'll definitely keep you abreast. So thank you, too, for joining me tonight for the very first episode.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thank you.